Here's the problem. Person keeps struggling to trade options successfully, and they jump from tactic to tactic to tactic to tactic. And after they run out of money because they jump from tactic to tactic to tactic, they leave the market. They say options trading doesn't work. It didn't help me get the life that I desired. They say the markets don't really work. They didn't help me get the life that I desired. And then they start to communicate that out to their groups to let other people in their groups know that you shouldn't waste your time in this particular area because I did it and it didn't work for me. Here's the solution. Learn the fundamentals of the space you are in and then start going into the tactics. Now, what do I mean by that? I would encourage you to learn how to operate from a fundamental standpoint, to build your foundation, to build something that's going to be comprehensive, and then start to expand based on that, as opposed to starting with the derivative or the extraction of that particular foundation, and you don't really know the foundation. Often when we look at what's going on in the world, what we may not be aware of is that there's a national strategy, there's going to be what we call campaigns, there's going to be what we call initiatives, and then from those initiatives, we're going to spring out tactics. Many times we can go into YouTube and we can look at ex-special ops guys, right? And what will they be talking about? They'll be talking about tactics. You want to know why they won't be talking about national strategy? Because they don't create the national strategy. You want to know why they don't talk about campaigns? Because they don't create the campaigns. And they also often don't create the initiatives. But what they are responsible for is making sure that they and the people around them understand the tactics. And this becomes a perspective that a lot of people get into, is I just have to learn tactical stuff. But often, to be successful, you have to learn how to internally, through your own group, build out a top-down or a foundational up, right? So bottom up or top-down strategy that's going to be foundational and then expand from there. Often the person that is struggling in the options market, just because they're trying tactic after tactic. Well, one thing we understand is that that's really a byproduct of how they live their life. In their personal life, they jump from situation to situation to situation to situation, and they never really lock in and learn things fundamentally. Now, here's a really quick story to kind of get you to understand more what I mean, right? And we're going to use this as an example of what I'm talking about, even though I'm not specifically talking about the options market. Earlier this week, I gave a Facebook consultation to somebody that I know because they wanted to run some ads for something that they had going on. Now, really quickly, I don't normally do Facebook consultations. However, this is a person that's serious about their business and they're already currently marketing, right? I'm not the guy to go to if you're not currently running ads or you never run ads. Because in my opinion, it means you don't want to run ads, right? But this was a business owner that currently was running ads and they just needed some consultation on what they had going on the Facebook platform. Now, I haven't advertised on Facebook since probably 2020. Right? Did a little bit during 2020, but then phased it out. However, I was able to successfully consult with this person for one reason. I understand the fundamentals of the space because I learned the fundamentals of the space before I ever ran an ad. And something that I talked about with that particular person is the fundamental. So this is how we broke this down when I dealt with the person. First thing I did was I looked at what they were previously running because I wanted to observe that, right? What were they running? Were they running? What type of ad were they running? Look at their creatives. Looked at their copy. Then I looked at their metrics. Something I explained to them was that I preferred and encouraged them to run their ads through Ads Manager because Ads Manager gives you more robust data to understand what direction you want to point the campaign in. Then you can going straight through what we're now seeing is that you can advertise directly through your sales page or your fan page. And that reminds me of Facebook having what we used to call a Facebook boosted post, where it allowed a person without really understanding the platform to easily advertise. Now, many people, because Facebook is a digital platform, you're going to have the tech guys come in, right? And they think the success of the platform is based on having a technical understanding of Facebook ads, understanding the UI of the platform, understanding what button to push, and also trying to understand the algorithm. But here's what I want to tell you from somebody that has spent a lot of money on Facebook and also spent a lot of money to learn Facebook. I spoke to a woman the other day. I told her I spent probably $10,000 to learn how to advertise on Facebook. So I said, you know what you should do? Just watch YouTube videos if you don't want to spend the $10,000. Eventually you'll figure it out, but you're going to spend the money. Facebook advertising is really based on basic fundamentals. Therefore, once we started getting into the consultation, I said, hey, first, you're doing a local-based ad. Well, I understand the fundamentals of local-based advertising. I asked them to show me certain specifics around the ads that they were currently running because I understood what they were doing. And it was very easy for me to identify why the ads weren't working as well as they thought they were going to work. Because why? It's based on the fundamentals. Once you understand certain fundamentals around the Facebook ad platform, when you're looking at diagnosing why your ads maybe are not performing the way you want them to perform, what do? You go back to the fundamentals. It has nothing to do with, here's the latest feature Facebook has put on Facebook. When I advertise on Facebook, I normally use 3 events, right? And events I mean by, what is a conversion event? Do I want link clicks? Do I want it to convert on the back end part of the funnel? I normally just use 3 events. Facebook has multiple events that you can use. I only needed to use 3. I know people would only use 1. And they just use that same event over and over and over again. These are the people that were really successful on Facebook. The majority of people that are failing on Facebook, they're getting caught up with the latest release on Facebook from the technical side. They're getting caught up in the latest, gimmick or gizmo or gadget that's supposed to make them successful on Facebook. And nobody that's successful on Facebook advertises like that. And that's who I learned from. Facebook is a direct response marketing platform. So the fundamentals of advertising on Facebook are based on what? Direct response marketing principles that existed before a computer was ever built. When direct response marketing principles were created, there were no computers. Maybe the military had some in secret, but there were no computers. There definitely was not any digital marketing. Therefore, the principles that we're using to be successful on the platform have little to nothing to do with technology. They have everything to do with actual marketing principles based on psychology, good offers, things of that nature. Have very little to do with technology. Then you add in the technology. So I explained to them something. So let me give you a part of the consultation that's based on the technology, but it's really based on the fundamentals of direct response marketing. What Facebook does, let's say you're looking at the mobile, which is the majority of traffic on Facebook. What Facebook does is it puts ads in what we call the mobile feed. So as you go on Facebook, you scroll up with your thumb or with your hand or whatever, you'll see the ads in a particular feed. Your goal as a marketer is to get the first ad in the feed. That's your goal. Well, why do you want that to take place? It's because most people are not going to spend 30 minutes scrolling. Therefore, Facebook could be delivering your ads, but nobody could be seeing them. So you're just paying for nothing. You want to figure out, what do I need to do to make my ad the first in the feed? Because from a direct response marketing standpoint, the likelihood of that person sitting on Facebook and waiting until the 5th ad pops up in the feed is little to zero, or 0 to none, I'm sorry. So it goes back to the fundamentals of direct response marketing. How can I create an ad so compelling that it performs so well that Facebook puts it in the top part of the feed? It gets first delivery. And then it continues to perform well to keep that first delivery. And what do I need to do that? Because Facebook needs the person to stop and go to your ad. So it's a direct response. I need a direct response out of the person watching the ad. This has nothing to do with what button to push. It has nothing to do with I'm a technical genius. It has everything to do with direct response marketing principles based on the same thing of, I'm going to put a mail order letter in your mailbox. And what do I need to put on the envelope to get you, when you see it with your other mail, to open the envelope and read the letter? Those principles still work on the digital side. They still work. They haven't changed because they're based on how the human mind works. They're not based on technology. They're based on how the human brain works. So once you understand those fundamentals, what you saw is that the people that understood those fundamentals, once we moved into the digital age, they all just jumped in the computer and they kept making money. Why? Because there was no difference in what they were doing in the physical world and what they were doing in the online world. The unsuccessful people were trying to figure out what button they need to push. What's the new latest program? What's the new latest thing that's going to give me the advantage? But let me explain something to you. If everybody has the same technological software, there is no advantage anymore. The advantage is people that understand the fundamentals of the space and understand how to leverage those fundamentals better than other people. I'm gonna repeat myself. If everybody has this particular artificial intelligence chat software, if it's rolled out, where's the advantage anymore? There is no advantage. The advantage is understanding the fundamentals of what I'm trying to use and then how to leverage that to get what I want. So the software becomes a tool, it doesn't become your advantage. And so this is what a lot of people get caught up in. They get caught up in a tactic being their advantage. That's not your advantage, but it's an advantage to the people that are unsuccessful. The really successful people will say, hey, I don't use any of that and I'm still successful. Let me give you another example. What is the money made on in the gun space? On selling all those accessories. Because everybody wants to feel like they're the special ops guys that they watch on YouTube that are tactical. So here's the tactical accessories. Okay, let me explain something to you. People that know how to kill you don't need none of that. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? People that really know how to kill people, they don't need any of that extra stuff. You give them a firearm and you tell them, you point them in the right direction and they're going to get next to you and they're going to kill you. You give them a ballpoint pen and you point them in the right direction. They're going to get next to you and kill you. You give them some poison and you point them in the right direction. They're going to get next to you and kill you. Right? People that have been trained to kill people don't need any of that extra stuff. Right? Because they understand the fundamentals of assassinating people. They understand the fundamentals of self-defense. Right? However, the people that don't understand the fundamentals, they're watching YouTube videos on how to clear a room. As if that's something that's going to happen to you at any time in your life, because they want the tactics. They think the tactics are going to give them the advantage. And that's what I want you to understand, is that many times people are caught up in the tactics and they're looking for the next tactical thing that they think that's going to make them successful. But the people that are truly successful, they know the fundamentals. There are people in this world, you give them a ballpoint pen and you point them in the right direction, they're going to go kill somebody. They don't need a gun, they don't need a knife, they don't need a fire, they don't need none of that. Just need a ballpoint pen. Because they'll stab you to death with the ballpoint pen. That's what I want you to understand, is that the fundamentals are very, very important. Now, the reason why options training, or the reason why my options training is so fundamentally sound, is because that's what allowed me to become successful. If I am having issues trading, what I do is I say, where am I breaking down fundamentally? Is there something that I'm doing fundamentally to where I'm breaking down? I don't get caught up in the tactics, because the tactics are very rarely where somebody's losing. Most people have a fundamental breakdown in what they're doing that's not allowing them to become successful the way they want to become successful. And therefore, often when you are failing at something, ask yourself, where am I breaking down fundamentally? So the reason why my options training is really based on the fundamentals of the market, the fundamentals of the options market, the fundamentals of economics, is because that's what allowed me to become successful. And that's what I go back to, right? My technical analysis based on basic support and resistance. Then I explain people what creates demand in the market that actually shapes the technical analysis. Most people that I talk to that took my course can't even speak to what is in the curriculum. Because why? They shot through it so fast, they never learned it, right? But even when I'm still looking at a chart, you know what the first thing I look at? Support and resistance, volume. Look at the same stuff over and over again. I don't use any of those sophisticated indicators. Why? Because the only thing that's on the chart is price, time, and volume. There's nothing else there. Therefore, if I can look at the chart and see what's going on, because that's the only thing that's there. Right? The chart cannot create an output that's not based on the input. So that's what I teach. Now you can, after that, go and expand. But in my opinion, if you don't understand supply and demand, then you don't understand what's going on the chart, because the chart is really a reflection of supply and demand. It doesn't represent anything else. It represents supply and demand, really, in time. However, people want to learn technical analysis and never learn supply and demand. That's their business. I just don't teach it that way. And in my opinion, if you're struggling with your technical analysis, my question is, well, how well do you know supply and demand? I had a person, really it was my uncle, told me years ago when I was struggling in statistics, he says, your problem is not statistics. Your problem is that you're struggling with algebra. I learned that when I took calculus, that nobody fails calculus. What happened is they barely passed algebra. And then because they don't really have a good concept and a really good understanding of algebra, they can't pass calculus. Nobody fails calculus. What happened is either they barely passed algebra or they failed algebra and somehow they got into a calculus class. But nobody fails calculus because calculus really is based on algebra. Well, why do people fail algebra? Because they really never understood basic mathematics. It all goes back to the fundamentals 95% of the time. It rarely goes back to the tactics. And that's what I want people to understand. But it's the desire for novelty that gets a lot of people caught up. The human brain loves novelty. It just does. The human brain loves novelty. That's why so many people jumping on YouTube. They're looking to be outraged every day. They're looking for the most outrageous negative thing. People on Twitter, you can build a big Twitter backend if you just outrage people every day. Here's something to be upset about. Here's something to be upset about. They love it. People love that type of stuff. However, often the real success is in getting past the novelty stage. Often the real success is getting past the stage where everything has to be novel to you. And understanding that a lot of times things that you may perceive to be boring, things that you may perceive to be not as interesting, is really being very thorough in understanding those particular areas is often where the success that you say you want is where it's at. It's often not in the novelty, right? So that's why I really focus on the fundamentals. That's why I tell people when they're having issues, what is their understanding of the fundamentals? And that's why a lot of people can't learn from what I'm teaching, is because they want somebody to give them the new thing every day. And I'm the kind of person to tell you, well, how good are you at doing these three things? Are you the best you can be at these three things? And until you get feeling like I'm the best I can be at these three things, I don't know why you look at anything else. Because at the end of the day, your ability to be successful in a particular area is going to be based on how good you are at these three things. Then from there, you start to expand. But most people are terrible at the fundamentals and they don't want to admit that, but they really don't want to be successful. They want novelty. And there's a great market for those people to make sure they get that need desired. And I try to deal with the people that really understand it's in the fundamentals. It's in building out a really strong foundation is where you're going to be successful, because when things go wrong, what can you always do? You can use your foundation as your safe harbor. Build yourself back up from there and then go back out here and continue to expand your territory. Hope you got some value from it. David W. Williams, talk to you later.